2 years soft skill channel. Well, mission accomplished, I'd say. Let's have a vacation. That and more in the new channel update. Welcome to the Soft Skill channel. My name is Sebastian Jung and I welcome you to the channel update June. Today we're celebrating an anniversary and we're starting into the summer break. But first, let's have a short look back at our recent topics. There was the soft skill talk about the myth Japan, our romanticized view of a seemingly mythical nation. Quite an exciting topic, I'd say. Kind of topic we haven't discussed on the channel yet. I think when we further progress in the area of biases and fallacies, we will frequently encounter the topic of how prejudice is created, how biases and fallacies lead to prejudice, but I think that's more in a negative direction, and there we had a look at a more positive kind, at a more romanticized view, and I think that was quite interesting. In this area we also have further interesting topics such as invented traditions, which we might have a look at later. Afterwards, we had a look at Marie Kondo, the manga, and the Netflix series. That was very nice for a change. Usually I discuss books here, but there we had a look at a documentary and at a manga, a graphic novel. So I guess we will do this again. There are a couple of documentaries about soft skill topics that are interesting that we might have a look at, and maybe we will also discuss comics or novels if I find some that suit the topic. We already discussed John Strelacky's kind of guidebook novels, self-help novels, where the novel part clearly was less important than the self-help book part, where the plot was always rather thin and simple. But maybe we will find some novels or graphic novels that have more of a plot, more of a story, but also some relevance to soft skill topics. Regarding Marie Kondo, we will probably have a look at her book Joy at Work, where she talks about how to use her method in working life, and we will personally try out the KonMari method, and at some point we will also tell you about that and give you some descriptions of our experiences, but all of that will come at a later point. Recently we had a couple of videos about Marie Kondo, so after the summer break we will first have a look at some other topics. As a new addition to our series on biases and fallacies, we had a look at the regression to the mean, which is quite an interesting phenomenon and also quite relevant for day-to-day life. I find quite interesting the fact that it may lead to the wrong conclusion that criticism and blame works better than praise, and it also plays into the hands of charlatans. In the video, for example, I mentioned homeopathy, and there we usually think of the placebo effect as the reason why people believe it would work, even though it does not. But I think the regression to the mean is also very, very important here, to create this experience of I was sick, I took the homeopathic product and then I got better, and then drawing the wrong conclusion that this would be cause and effect, and that the homeopathic product actually made you get better. So regression to the mean is quite relevant, and it's quite present in our day-to-day lives. Recently I had to think about it when I was shaving in the morning, and after you shave, at least males know, the skin will always be a bit reddened and a bit irritated, and so I always put some lotion on, and a while later it gets better, and I attribute that to the lotion. However, it would probably get better all by itself, by the natural healing effects, without me applying anything. I never tried it out, so even in such very small things, we encounter the regression to the mean in our day-to-day lives. And of course, there was a book review. This time we discussed David Graeber's Bullshit Jobs. That was quite a big project for the end of the first half of the year before the summer break. It took quite some time to get this one done. The first attempts at that scripts I wrote were more than an hour long, and we had to shorten that a lot to get to a decent video, but I think it turned out nicely in the end, and I think it is quite an interesting book. Now, apart from this phenomenon Graeber describes of jobs that are entirely bullshit, entirely useless, without any benefit to society, I guess most of you have encountered in their daily working lives this effect that actual useful work is always at risk of getting pushed back by things like formalities, bureaucracy, emails, meetings, and the like. So I think this is an interesting direction of thought. And what I also liked a lot was Graeber's description of the historical development of our attitude towards work. This was quite fascinating for me. So I think this is quite an interesting book and an interesting video. We have something to celebrate today. The 2-year anniversary of the Soft Skill channel. 2 years Soft Skill channel. 2 years ago this channel was started, and we look back upon an interesting, exciting second year. A lot of interesting things happened. We started and built our series on biases and fallacies. We introduced the Soft Skill Talks as a new format, and most of all, we discussed plenty of interesting and exciting topics. By the way, we always have, sometimes we have topics. When I create the video, I think, oh well, this is a topic that will probably interest no one at all. This is probably going to be a video that is rarely watched, but then it is actually watched and people are actually interested in it. This happened for me, for example, for the Rubicon model, or also for our video about inductive, deductive and abductive reasoning, and I'm always quite happy if this happens, because it somewhat validates the approach we have here. We discuss a lot of topics that are more niche topics, more exotic topics, and I'm always happy if I notice that people do actually like those videos, are interested in those topics. So this is always quite nice. Of course, sometimes it's also the other way around. A video I believe will be watched a lot isn't watched that much. For example, Streliky's Big Five for Life, since the Y Cafe is so popular at the channel. I thought, okay, Big Five for Life will probably also be watched, but that isn't viewed a lot. So it goes both ways, but I still really enjoy this effect when an exotic topic that I didn't expect to get any views is actually watched and appreciated. Yeah, as I said, the channel is very much a small, exotic niche channel, but it still has grown over the past year. Today we have close to 400 subscribers here on the English channel, plus 800 on the German channel. And we also have expanded our video library. By now we have more than 100 videos on the channel, both in German and in English. So the channel has developed quite nicely. And of course we have you to thank for that, for your views, for your recommendations, for your likes, for your subscriptions. So thanks a lot. Here's to you and to an exciting third year Soft Skill channel. Well, now that this second year is finished, we will take a break. After this channel update, the summer break will start, so there won't be a new video for a little while. The next one will be the channel update August, and that one will be released on the 26th of August. I already told you a bit about the summer break and our thoughts and our reasoning behind it in some channel update at the start of the year, but I'd like to again summarize it quickly. In the last year, we really created one video each week, 52 videos in 1 year, and we managed to do that, but it was quite difficult, and we noticed this is too much. We can do it, but it gets stressful, and that's not the plan. The channel is supposed to be fun, and if we do too much, it also has a negative effect on video quality. So we thought, all right, we want to turn it down a bit. We want to release a bit less videos, but not too much less. We didn't want to go down to one video every second week, because there are so many exciting topics we want to cover, so many books we want to show you, and so on. So this would have been too much of a reduction. So we wondered what would be a good compromise, and our idea was to have a longer break somewhere in between. This break would allow us to catch up, to do some research without deadlines, without time pressure, which should also increase video quality. And it is clearly also meant for relaxation and recreation. Since we always produce a bit ahead, last weekend we didn't have any recording. Last weekend, the weekend was actually free, which is unusual for us, because usually on Saturday we record the new videos, and on Sunday I will do the cutting and production. So having an entire free weekend was unusual, and I have to say it was quite nice for a change, and we also appreciated that. So that clearly is also part of the plan. And obviously we wondered what would be the best time for such a break, and summer seems to be a good fit for two reasons. First of all, in summer there is less activity on the channel anyway, which should be obvious because a lot of people are on vacation or they're doing activities outside. We are not at home watching videos that much. And this clearly shows in the statistics. There is less activity in summer, and we clearly noticed this last year. So this is a good time for a break. And the weather is also an important factor, because you can imagine on very hot days. Recording the videos is a challenge. We don't have proper air conditioning here, only a small device with a vent that goes out the window, and we have to turn that off obviously while we are recording, so it gets hotter and hotter. So this is also an advantage of having the break in summer. We don't have to do that many recordings on very hot days. Well, we will, this is kind of an experiment for now. We will see how it works out this year, how the channel progresses throughout this break. A lot of the views we have are on older videos, so the views we get each day are distributed, are spread among all the videos we have, not just the newer ones. So I guess there will still be some views. We have to see how much they decrease. We also have to see how well the channel will restart in August and how good that works. And yeah, we will wait and see. And for next year, we will decide again if we will do another summer break or if we will switch to another model. For now, I'd like to thank you again for your support, for your views, your likes, your subscriptions, your recommendations, your comments, everything. Thanks a lot for your support. Now I'd like to wish you a great summer. We will see each other again after the summer break. For today, I'll take my leave. Have a nice day. See you next time.